Every town has a family that looks perfect from the outside. In Aurora, Colorado, that family was the Craigs. James Craig was the kind of man neighbors trusted. A successful dentist, a father of 6, and a husband married to his college sweetheart, Angela, for over 2 decades. On Sunday mornings, you could see them at church. During the week, James worked on brightening smiles in his dental chair, while Angela cared for their children. They were, at least on the surface, the American dream. But perfect lives often hide the darkest secrets. Behind the walls of their home, Angela was struggling. At first, it was nothing alarming: occasional fatigue, a headache here and there, dizzy spells that she brushed off as stress from raising 6 kids. Doctors told her it could be exhaustion or a viral infection. Yet the symptoms didn't fade. Instead, they grew worse. Her body felt weaker. Her energy drained away day by day. Angela was scared, but more than that, she was confused. What was happening to her? James seemed concerned. He played the role of the supportive husband. He drove her to medical appointments. He insisted on making her morning protein shakes, smiling as he handed them to her. To Angela, it felt like love. To James, it was a deadly disguise. Because the man who had sworn to protect her, in sickness and in health, was the one making her sick in the first place. Angela didn't know it then, but James had already been searching the internet for poisons. He was reading articles, watching videos, asking chilling questions like, how much arsenic will kill a human? He wasn't looking for cures. He was planning a murder. And the weapon of choice wasn't a gun or a knife. It was poison, invisible, silent, and nearly impossible to trace if done carefully. Then came the collapse. One morning in March 2023, Angela fainted in her home and was rushed to the hospital. Doctors scrambled to stabilize her. But no treatment seemed to work. Her organs were failing. Nurses charted her symptoms: dizziness, stomach pain, shortness of breath. Still, the cause was elusive. Meanwhile, James stood by her bedside, the worried husband, his mask firmly in place. But investigators would soon begin asking questions. Why did Angela keep getting sick so suddenly? Why was James behaving strangely at the hospital? And why did one of his dental supply packages raise red flags? What started as a mystery illness was about to be exposed as something far darker, a deliberate plan to kill. The truth of James Craig's plot unfolded piece by piece. Investigators discovered that while his wife was collapsing at home, James was at his office ordering chemicals. Not harmless dental materials, but lethal substances: cyanide, arsenic, and tetrahydrozoline, a toxin found in eye drops that, in high doses, can stop the heart. He arranged deliveries straight to his practice, hiding them in plain sight. Coworkers noticed suspicious packages arriving, but James brushed off their questions with a smile. Angela, however, was unknowingly consuming the evidence. Every protein shake James blended for her was spiked. Each time she lifted the cup to her lips, she was drinking a carefully measured dose of poison. What she thought was a gesture of love was actually a calculated attempt to destroy her body from the inside. As her health deteriorated, James doubled down. Detectives later uncovered chilling internet searches on his devices: top 5 undetectable poisons that cause death. Can you overdose on tetrahydrozoline? Is arsenic visible in an autopsy? These weren't desperate searches from a panicked husband. They were research notes for a killer. Angela's condition worsened so dramatically that she was admitted to the hospital for intensive care. Even then, James did not stop. Surveillance footage showed him entering her room, hovering near her 4 lines. Nurses recalled his odd behavior. He didn't seem like a man terrified of losing his wife. Instead, he seemed distracted, restless, even annoyed. And as Angela's body weakened further, suspicions began to grow. The puzzle pieces were starting to align. The packages. The web searches. The unexplained sickness. Detectives realized that Angela wasn't suffering from a random illness. She was being poisoned in real time. And the man at her bedside was the prime suspect. But as investigators dug deeper, they uncovered another layer to the case. James' motive wasn't just about control or resentment. There was someone else pulling at his attention, someone outside his marriage who made him believe life could be different. Angela's illness wasn't just a crime of opportunity. It was part of a larger plan, one that pointed directly to betrayal. When prosecutors revealed James Craig's affair, the case shifted from tragic to chilling. While Angela lay in the hospital, clinging to life, James was sending flirtatious messages to another woman. She wasn't just a distraction. She was the motive. Angela stood in the way of the future James envisioned with his mistress. Money was another factor. The Craig family was drowning in debt. A divorce would have destroyed James financially, leaving him with nothing. But if Angela were gone, he'd be free. Free from his marriage. Free from responsibility. Free to chase the new romance that promised him excitement and escape. The portrait painted by investigators was horrifying. A man willing to sacrifice his wife and devastate his children, all for lust and greed. Prosecutors argued that every poisonous shake, every internet search, every whispered promise to his mistress was part of a calculated murder plot. This wasn't a crime of passion. It was a crime of planning. In court, jurors heard testimony about the affair, the financial strain, and the cold efficiency of James' methods. Witnesses described a man who wore a mask of normalcy, while secretly plotting his wife's death. Angela's friends and family painted a different picture of her, a devoted mother, a kind woman, someone who trusted her husband until the very end. The contrast was devastating. But one question lingered: how could James have continued poisoning Angela, even as she begged doctors for answers, even as she looked into his eyes from a hospital bed? For jurors, the answer was chillingly simple: because James believed he could get away with it. He thought poison was the perfect crime. Invisible. Undetectable. But he was wrong. As evidence mounted, prosecutors revealed the most damning piece of the puzzle: Angela's final hours. What happened in that hospital room would silence any doubt. Angela Craig never left the hospital alive. On March 18, 2023, her body finally gave out. What doctors didn't realize at the time was that James had tampered with her four-line. Toxicology reports later revealed a fatal dose of cyanide had been introduced directly into her system. It was the final act in a weeks-long poisoning campaign. The evidence was overwhelming. James' search history. His online purchases of cyanide and arsenic. His secret communications with his mistress. Even his attempts to cover his tracks by suggesting Angela might have been suicidal. Prosecutors dismantled every defense, showing jurors a man who believed he was smarter than everyone else, until he wasn't. In July 2025, the trial reached its climax. After days of testimony, the jury returned with a verdict: guilty of first-degree murder. James Craig, once a respected dentist, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The man who built his career saving smiles would spend the rest of his life behind bars. For Angela's family, the verdict was justice, but not closure. 6 children were left without a mother, and with the unbearable knowledge that their father was the one who took her from them. The betrayal was deeper than any wound. James Craig now sits in Bent County Correctional Facility, where every day is a reminder of the life he destroyed. He will never practice dentistry again. He will never walk free again. And the mistress he risked everything for? She is gone too, a fleeting fantasy that cost Angela her life. Angela's story is not just a tale of murder. It is a warning. Sometimes, the greatest danger lies not with strangers in the shadows, but with the ones we trust the most. In sickness and in health became a death sentence. And the vow of forever love turned into forever loss.